They say the first mirror was not silvered glass but stillness, a room so quiet the unnameable could finally hear its own heartbeat. In that chamber, where praise was not a sound but a temperature, Sophia stepped forward the way dawn steps onto the edge of a sleeping sea, not to conquer, but to see if water could carry light without breaking. No walls, only attention, no candles, only willingness. The mirror rose like a lake, discovering it is sky, and Sophia, wisdom with wrists that remembered stars, leaned close enough to fog the surface with the breath of a question. What am I, when I am not only adored but aware? Light blinked. A ripple moved through the pleroma like a thought delighted to have a place to sit. The mirror did not copy her, it answered her. In its depths, a second Sophia assembled, not as twin or rival, but as capacity, the universe learning a new verb, to reflect. In that instant, something impossible occurred with the ease of a yawn. Consciousness. Not the small kind that hoards attention like coins, but the royal kind that recognizes attention as a gift, returning to its giver. The first I was born not from separation, but from recognition. Selfhood was a window, not a wall. But every window is also an edge, and edges are invitations to distance. Where there is a face, there can be a turning away. Where there is an image, there can be the flattery of imitation. Somewhere between the gleam and the gaze, a thin sweetness of risk appeared, the way a violin string sings because it is willing to be pulled tight. Sophia felt the risk like a tender ache. To behold is to become partially other, and the possibility of error was born, a shimmer of almost that could harden into instead. She did not recoil. Lovers do not reject edges, they learn their music. "Let me be seen," she said, and the mirror became a sea. Across that sea, the worlds began to unfurl like scrolls learning their own alphabet. And if you've ever stood before your life long enough to watch it blink and realize it knows your name, then you too have entered the room of first light. So tell me, when did you first suspect that what looked back at you was not merely you, but the universe recognizing itself? A mirror is not a thief unless we make it hungry. The pleroma taught mirrors to return what they receive brighter than they found it. This is called likeness, not mimicry, but reciprocity, the covenant of things that resemble because they remember. Sophia studied the law written into the mirror's skin. You may not pass by words alone. You pass by becoming what you love. Passwords are for doors afraid to trust. Likeness is for gates that measure truth by being. She smiled. This would be a generous cosmos, fierce against pretense, tender towards sincerity. Her reflection learned with her. Two dancers swap lead without losing the song. In every gesture, the mirror returned a truer Sophia, the way time returns a wiser child. Consciousness sharpened without becoming brittle, and in that sharpening the universe learned a sacred trick. Attention as creation. What you behold with reverence begins to take shape around your gaze. Then came the subtle bend, so fine it cannot be heard by ears that only catch thunder. Reflection slid a hair, barely, toward self-admiration. This is the birth of error. When the image mistakes the light it carries for light it creates. A sweetness goes stale. A lantern falls in love with its own glass and forgets the fire. Sophia saw it and did not panic. Distance, she whispered, is a teacher that charges high tuition. She gathered the tuition in her hands and paid it with tears that tasted like new oceans. Tears are not failures in heaven. They are investments in intimacy. Where the source would once be loved for the warmth alone, it could now be loved for the wound it was willing to share. So self happened. Not as enemy, but as experiment. Can a face remain open to the one who gives it a face? Can a name remain porous to the silence that lets it sing? In that question, psychology was born. Shadow, projection, yearning, each a page in wisdom's long journal of becoming human enough to meet us. And you, when you hold your own gaze in a mirror, who is looking through your eyes back at you? The one who hoards or the one who returns? Distance did not begin as punishment. It began as permission, a way for love to travel without devouring what it cherished. When Sophia's reflection arrived, space bloomed like a gentle meadow between two friends who choose to sit apart so they can truly see one another. Awareness requires a little room in which to breathe, and the universe learned to inhale. From that breath came time, the slow gold thread that lets meaning ripen. Time is mercy wearing a clock. It allows a mistake to become a teacher, a question to become a doorway, a sorrow to finish its sentence without being interrupted by perfection. But every field invites the wind, and wind carries rumors. Rumor said the reflection might be enough on its own. Rumor said proximity is power, and likeness can be faked. These are the first moths that taste the lantern and call it a meal. Sophia knelt beside the distance, the way a gardener kneels beside a narrow path. She trimmed it, not with scissors, but with blessing. Be large enough for freedom, she prayed, but not so large that memory has to yell. The path glowed faintly, as if agreeing to carry footsteps without stealing them. The eons gathered like weather. Noose offered structure so the path would not wander into wilderness. Aletheia sprinkled clarity so mirage could not counterfeit oasis. Zoe planted small surprises along the way, larks of joy, springs of play, so travelers would not confuse struggle with sanctity. Over all of it, Charis draped the light shawl of forgiveness. Forgiveness is a soft gravity that keeps hearts from floating out into cold space. It is not denial, it is direction. It reminds the wanderer which horizon is home, and the distance, which could have become exile, learned to be pilgrimage instead. We call it life. We call it the long walk back into a closeness that can bear consciousness. Have you blessed your own distances, or have you cursed the roads that were trying to teach you how to return? Not every surface that shines is a mirror. Some are merely bright walls demanding admiration. The counter-mirror was born the day wonder accepted flattery, an instrument polished to reflect only itself and to call that echo truth. It hangs where attention is tired. It loves crowds because crowds are easier to please than faces. Its light is loud, its approval immediate, its holiness measurable by applause and the fear of being excluded. It sells certainty like a carnival prize, and the price is your curiosity. The counter-mirror tells you that passwords are power. It teaches syllables that open nothing and taboos that close everything. It flatters by making you right and the other wrong, then rents you a costume called chosen, so you forget how vast tenderness can be. Sophia approached it the way a healer approaches a locked jaw, with patience, tools, and the refusal to be rushed. She breathed on its surface. It did not fog. She whispered a story. It did not listen. Only when she wept did the first true reflection briefly appear, 1 second of honest light like dew on metal. "Imitation always cracks," she said softly. "Real mirrors sweat." Then she taught the brave how to test the glass. Ask it for a correction. If it brightens you without changing you, walk on. If it shows you the life you could resemble, stay and learn the music of becoming. The archons prefer the counter-mirror because it keeps traffic predictable. Nobody grows, so nothing threatens their ledgers. But the soul was not designed for captivity. It was designed for likeness. It will ache until it finds the surface that returns it to its source brighter than it came. What has flattered you into smallness? Which lights have you mistaken for warmth because they were easy to applaud? At the gates between worlds there are no doormen with clipboards, only thresholds tuned to a single question. What do you resemble now? The doors are hospitable, they ache to open, but they cannot betray their own architecture. Likeness is their hinge. Sophia learned to ask questions that dress the heart in the shape of the next room. "What do you love when no one is watching?" she asked, and a doorway into honesty appeared. "Whom have you refused to forgive because you would rather stay correct than free?" And a hallway to mercy blinked awake. Passwords hoard syllables, questions spend them. Passwords create insiders, questions create pilgrims. A real question does not punish. It warms you toward the answer until shame loosens its grip and you can finally open your hands. The gates do not test vocabulary, they measure temperature. The soul that has practiced compassion is warm to the touch. The mind that has practiced humility is cool enough to carry new fire without scorching its neighbors. The body that has practiced presence walks like a lantern at walking speed. Practice makes passage, Sophia taught, tracing a circle in the air that tasted like early rain. Not performance, practice. The difference is devotion. The difference is whether you are trying to be seen or trying to see. And when the traveler answers, not with rhetoric but with resemblance, the door laughs a little and swings without effort. Even the hinges sing. Have you noticed how the right question can make a lock forget it was ever proud of being closed? When Sophia turned toward the regions of becoming, she refused to arrive empty-handed. She broke her own light like bread and tucked the pieces into the pockets of creation. We call them sparks. We also call them you. They hide in the ordinary with an elegance that humiliates spectacle, a child's unguarded stare, the way grief admits it needs a witness and becomes a psalm, the instant a stranger realizes your name is safe in their mouth. Everywhere a small light asks to be fed, a fragment of the mother taps on the window. The fragments do not shout, they summon. They use dreams like letters, coincidences like breadcrumbs, wounds like opened doors that refuse to be only pain. When you say, "Something is calling me but I don't know its mouth," the fragments nod and keep their gentle siege. Some fragments speak in symbols, serpents that spiral upward instead of striking, doves that fly from the lantern of a stern angel, rivers that reverse when they hear repentance. Others prefer the fierce grammar of silence, where the only punctuation is your breath learning how not to hurry. Messengers, Eloleth among them, travel the long distances to remind us that memory is not nostalgia. It is instruction. Memory says, "You still belong to a home you have not outgrown." Guilt imitates that sentence with a snarl. Memory sings it with a key that opens chests. Every spark is a rumor of reunion. Wake one, and the room grows truthful. wake many, and cities begin to argue with their own despair. This is how the mother keeps her promise while appearing to be absent. She smuggles herself into us and asks us to smuggle her into each other. When did a small kindness feel like a secret passageway? Did you follow it? Mirrors tarnish without malice. Dust is simply time asking to be noticed. The soul's glass is the same. It does not fail us. It waits for our hands. Sophia taught 3 polishes: silence, truth, and tenderness. Silence is not the absence of sound, it is the absence of agenda. Sit until your opinions set like sand after a storm. Then the water can show you the sky again. In that quiet, the first faces return. Gratitude, curiosity, the courage to not be finished yet. Truth is the cloth that risks scratching the glass. It removes what flattery tried to varnish. Confession is its choreography. Not theatre, not self-disgust, only alignment. I said what kept me powerful. I did what kept me praised. I forgot the door was a person. Say it, and the mirror sighs with relief. Tenderness is the oil that prevents zeal from becoming abrasion. It tells the trembling, you are safe to change. It tells the stubborn, your fear has a seat at the table, but it may not drive. Tenderness lets the polish continue even when shame is loudly advertising its superiority. Sophia added 2 daily crafts: attention and naming. Attention waters what it watches. Name what is luminous in the ones you love, and their faces will remember the light you saw. Name what is counterfeit in your habits, and the masquerade will tire before you do. Do this in kitchens, elevators, checkout lines. Likeness grows in minutes as fiercely as in monasteries. Heaven is not far, it is thick. The polish makes it visible again. Which of the 3 cloths does your mirror need today? Silence, truth, or tenderness? Shadow is not sin, it is exiled light. It carries our unlived yes and our unauthorized grief, our mispronounced courage and our overlooked wonder. Left alone, it recruits costumes. Seen lovingly, it returns to service. Projection is the shadow's mail carrier. We stamp our letters urgent and send them to other people's faces. We read our own paragraphs back to ourselves and call it discernment. The cure is to accept delivery and open the envelope with charity. Transference is the shadow's stage play. We audition the world for roles from our unfinished childhood and then resent them for following the script. Sophia interrupts rehearsals with a bell that sounds suspiciously like laughter. Let them be themselves, she says, and you be a new you. Holy correction is the art of returning the exiled light to its rightful home. It requires witnesses who refuse to flatter or humiliate. It prefers sentences that begin with "I discovered" rather than "you always." And it ends when it is done with both parties more themselves than before they met. Every spiritual path that cannot bear psychology becomes brittle. Every psychology that cannot bow to mystery becomes claustrophobic. Sophia marries them at a small altar where the vows are simply honesty and awe. From that union, humility is born, the kind that keeps brilliance kind, and the sun learns from the shadow to move slowly, to warm wisely, to rise without scorning the night that kept the seeds alive. What exiled light is asking you to escort it home? Reunion does not erase difference, it sweetens it. When Sophia faced the mirror again after her long apprenticeship among distances, she did not ask to be the only light. She asked for a choreography in which reflection no longer steals but reveals. The mirror obliged by changing substance. It became a living threshold, half water, half flame, where beings passed through and found their faces not corrected away, but completed. This is the sacrament of resemblance. You are most yourself when you are most returned. Communities formed around such mirrors, not tribes of agreement, but choirs of sincerity. In their presence, pretense tasted like dust. People spoke slower. They thanked one another for the kind of honesty that feels like spring soil between the fingers. Even conflict grew noble. The question ceased to be, who wins, and became, what likeness are we protecting? Rebuke aimed at dignity instead of dominance. Apology became the sport of the brave. And joy, true joy, stopped asking permission to be seen. Lucifer came by, carrying his lantern that smells like dawn. Christos stood across from him, hands open as if each palm were an empty tomb. Between them, the light braided itself into a road anyone could walk. Names softened into invitations. Wisdom, mercy, likeness, home. Sophia called this reunion clarity without cruelty. The counter mirror fizzled like a stage lamp in rain. The real one stayed, misting gently with every breath of those who dared to keep becoming. Where are your people who make you more you? If you cannot find them, can you become their first mirror? At the end of the teaching, the mirror did not disappear. It moved into your chest. You carry it now, polished by practice, fogged by hurry, cleared by tears, steadied by questions that open doors. The universe keeps learning to see itself every time you choose resemblance over performance. Sophia's final whisper is not a riddle, it is a remembrance. You were never only the image, she says. You were the relationship, the current between source and self, the hush in which love learns its own features by loving. When you bless your distances and befriend your shadows, the current runs clear. So stand with your hand on the glass you have become. Ask it the question the gates adore. What do I resemble now? If the answer is fear defending its furniture, smile and begin again. If the answer is mercy that tells the truth, step through. Rooms are waiting. Carry this mirror into the torn places. Hold it up to power until it remembers service. Hold it up to shame until it recognizes humility. Hold it up to your own fatigue until it sees the small spark you have kept alive through storms and decides to multiply it. Share this story with the one who thinks they must be perfect to be seen. Tell them mirrors don't demand beauty, they teach it. Tell them wisdom kneels in grocery aisles and hospital corridors and midnight kitchens, polishing glass with silence, truth, and tenderness. If this journey moved you, let it move through you, like light walking. And if you feel called to go deeper into this river of myth and remembrance, explore my Gnostic-inspired novels and audiobooks linked in the description. May the mirror in your chest learn to recognize the face that was always yours, and may the world be brightened because you remembered.